Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great day and had a great long weekend. I'm excited about today's presentation. It is with James Bickford, who is the Chief Commercial Officer for Camelot, which is our lottery provider here in Illinois. And we're going to learn more about how they pivoted their entire marketing campaign during the pandemic. And I think we're all going to learn something and be able to have some takeaways that we can maybe even incorporate into our own campaigns. Before I introduce James and have him talk about their new marketing campaign, I would like to remind you that we have some great events coming up at the Chicagoland Chamber. .org is our website. And if you really want to, you could spend a whole day with us on September 16th, where you can start off with a webinar on social media marketing with BMO, and then have lunch with us with our premier lunch, and then end the day with a cocktail connection with your favorite cocktail. All are virtual, and you can sign up after the program is over. And now it's my pleasure to turn the program over to James. I did forget one thing. If you have a question, please put it in the Q&A and we'll do those at the end. So, and I'll moderate that. So thank you. James, it's all yours. You're muted.
It amazes me now after 6 months of this that we still chat to ourselves. Thank you so much, Jan, for inviting me and Camelot to come and have a chat today. It's a real privilege to be able to join you, and also thank you to those people who've joined as well this morning. Just a very brief background. I consulted to Camelot up until the end of last year, and actually joined full-time with the team here in Illinois, and what a great team it is, in November. So I moved to Chicago in January of this year, and now feel that I'm part of being part of the Illinois state. I'm very proud to be here and working with a great brand, a great business that is contributing upwards of $740 million annually to the Common School Fund. I'm going to chat a bit about marketing and how we as a brand have shifted our thinking away from, I think, the old into the new. And for those of you who were marketing in the last big crisis, which of course was the economic crash, it's interesting that we've seen some similar thinking from then that's kind of reemerged now. And what I thought I'd do is just kind of take you through, to begin with, just some thinking that we had as a business around 10 months ago, actually. And around 10 months ago, we looked at the Illinois Lottery brand, what it stood for, what its reputation was within the state. And to be fair, it wasn't all roses, and it wasn't necessarily, I think the brand wasn't necessarily being understood the way we felt it needed to be able to sustain its growth into the future. And also ensure that it can continue to contribute to the Common School Fund. So we did an exercise around really going back to the basics of who we were, why were we here, what was it we wanted to truly achieve beyond selling instant tickets and draw-based games tickets. And for many of you in marketing, you'll know that as purpose. And I don't think we really understood what our purpose was. And we went and explored that and found, I think, a great purpose 10 months ago, which I'll talk about a bit later. But I think before we start, this whole presentation is based on really understanding what is the purpose, what is the why of your business, and therefore how you project that why in terms of your brand and the comms that you do. And I think also importantly now, purpose, especially in times that we're in uh, and have been in over the last 6 months, and certainly will continue to be in over the next, I think, probably year, 2 years, that sense of purpose and staying the course and being true and stubborn to that purpose, I think, is going to be very, very important. So I'm going to kind of base our pivot on that. But if we go to the next slide, I think there were, for us, it was about really how do we, when COVID began, the question was, how do we set a new course for what I've called an anxious world? And this was obviously before, we had the disruption that we've seen across the nation also. So this was just the very beginnings of COVID. But it was quite clear very early on that there was going to be an anxiety that grew over time. This wasn't going to solve itself in weeks or months or even beyond. And therefore, it was about how could we really look at building brand resilience, and getting the brand to be able to weather what would be quite a long storm. And I think moving on beyond that, which is why I've added activism and economic uncertainty, because these things I think have now grown out as well. So, it's a storm I think very few marketeers have ever been in. I've certainly been in pandemics, I've been in economic downturns, I've been in activism around the world, but actually activism and economic downturn I've found has come together in parts of the world, but certainly now all three together is unprecedented, as we know. And for a brand, I think it's about how can we create a sense of stability in a very unstable environment. And we're all consumers ourselves. So when we look at those things that we want to be part of, take part of, play with, interact with, listen to, watch, we are now, I think, going to become much more conscious and self-aware of those brands that we may leave behind or take with us in the journey that we are going on as individuals in the anxious world that we're now in. So for me, it wasn't about a pivot, and brands we know pivot regularly. This was about setting a new course. And I think that was probably the biggest lesson out of the economic downturn that I took, taking brands through that period of time, was you couldn't look at this as a brand pivot. You had to look at it as setting a new course for what is a term that we're all used to now, which is a new normal. So setting a new course, understanding that it's a new course for an anxious environment that isn't based on one anxiety, it's actually based on three. And we don't know where each of those are going to be. So uncertainty is always in the back of our minds. So if we go to the next slide, thanks. For me, building value is in a resilient way is probably one of the hardest things a brand can unpack, actually. The Illinois lottery, before March of this year, we'd put in a new brand platform. We'd got our new purpose. We were bedding that into our business and into our market. And then the world changed within a week. So we had to look at that way we were building that brand value and really start to understand, were we going to be continuing to build that same value in the same way in this new world that we were going to go into, and couldn't really predict. So with that uncertainty, building that resilience into our brand and marketing was going to become more important than it ever was prior to COVID. I think, we all know building brand value is, it's not a smash and grab. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes investment in the right place. But it's not something that you can build overnight. It's something that you have to build if you want it to be authentic and transparent and human. It's something that takes many, many years to do. So we set ourselves off on this course to do that over the next 5 years, and suddenly that stopped. And people starting to look at brands very differently than they were before. So the three things that we started to really look at were what you're looking at now. Firstly is, how do we continue to build brand value? And for us, that is the intangible asset. But every brand has a value. So the Illinois Lottery logo, if you don't take anything else from the Illinois Lottery, the logo is worth something. When people look at that logo, that's where they are building their brand value, whether low, middle, or high. So, and our brand value, I think probably up until a year ago, wasn't particularly going in the right direction. And that was something that we really were working on in terms of building brand value within the Illinois Lottery brand. But it has a financial and tangible value to it. The second part for us was about how we're building reputational value. Now, reputational value is very different. Reputational value is the corporate side of what society, stakeholders, our players and non-players think of the Illinois Lottery as a corporate, not a brand that they buy. And therefore, those expectations around reputational value, for example, leadership, workplace, performance, CSR, those areas that a corporate is responsible for and their reputation is based on, was a second pillar that we truly wanted to build. And I'll come back to that in a second. And to be honest, those were the two pillars that we built our brand platform on. And the third pillar, I think, which is here, is cultural value. And I think it's something that we have created because of the times we're in, is how I think cultural value would have probably been corporate social responsibility within the reputational banner. But I think in the world we live in now, cultural value, I think, has to stand alone and come from under the umbrella of reputational value. So how are we building a cultural value? What do we stand for? What do we believe in? What do we support as a corporate entity? I think is becoming, I think over the last probably 10 years, it's become more important. And as we know, brands now are under much more scrutiny in terms of reputation. But I think in the last 6 months, cultural value has become something quite complex that we need to unpack and understand more in terms of where our brand actually belongs. And cultural value is really about that meaning and behavior that defines the way of life that we believe our brand should take part within either a group or a society. And I'll come on to that a bit later, but it's, I think, pretty obvious that this is something that would lean into, for example, Black Lives Matter and how brands are engaging in something truly cultural that now I think is here to stay and quite rightly should. So those are the three pillars that we're looking at building new value in a new world, and those areas that we're really having to unpack and challenge ourselves in terms of what is and how are we building and creating brand value, reputational value, and cultural value moving forward as a brand in the new world that we're in. And I think, I hope and pray that, COVID will finish and that those cultural issues will unpack themselves. But at the end of the day, when and if any of that happens, we're certainly in a very, very new world that we need to be conscious of and protect and make our brands resilience in. So if we go to the next slide, if we take those three pillars, then for me it was about, how are we therefore unlocking change? Because we're going to have to change as brands. And that's tough because brands take a lot of time to build. They're probably easier to pivot, but to actually unlock change has to be a real commitment from the board, from the C-suite, from senior management, all the way down through the business. And change now, people expect it to be a lot quicker than it was before. We had the luxury of time, I think, 10, 15 years ago. We don't have the luxury of time now. So unlocking change, I touched on purpose. I think to unlock change, you have to have a genuine, authentic purpose for your business. Profit isn't the main driver of purpose, by the way. But your purpose keeps your business alive, as it says there on the page. A purpose is something that employees can truly engage with. A purpose is something that your customers, your clients can start to see be painted as a picture over time that gives them something more to have a relationship with your brand than, in our case, buying a ticket or winning a prize or not winning a prize. So purpose, I think, is, if there was one outtake of today's chat, is please think about, if you were standing at the water cooler and a colleague said, what's the purpose of our business beyond profit? Can we answer that question? And then if we asked someone else in our organization, would they give us a different answer? So unifying around a purpose, I think is something that certainly has been, it's no new game changer. It's been around for about really since the last big recession, actually. But it's something I think businesses tend to forget. But I think once you find it, it becomes much easier to build and grow a genuine a brand for the future. The second, and I think it's an overused word actually, is agility. One of the things that COVID certainly taught us was the need to be agile. And I think probably pre-COVID, we thought we were agile, but we were agile in an old world. Agility now, I think we need to reframe what we mean about agility for our brands. It's not about being first all the time or having the first conversation, or it's not that. It's about the organization being positive enough about their brand and confident enough about their brand to be agile and to be able to go and do things that may fail, but we're confident that the value that we've built, i.e. our brand reputation and cultural value, will support us in being agile. And that, I think it says here, it's about detect and respond. And with everything that is happening in our brand world today, we also have to look at the third box, which is data. And we have to turn that data into information that can drive us beyond just the day-to-day, the week-to-week, and continue to look out 3 to 5 years, however hard it is. And there's no right or wrong, I don't think, but however hard it is, we still don't want to get caught and blink it into today and next week and next month around the issues that we have. And the headwinds that are coming across our brand sales, north, south, east, and west at the moment, buffeting us away. It's easy to get lost in that. So we have to look up and we have to respond also further out. And I think data for us is really, really critical, more critical, I think, than it ever has been in terms of being able to steer a brand, not just a product or a service or a customer. How are we using data to steer our brand? I think is a challenge that if we get right by using the data sets that we have and learning from them and challenging them and asking questions of them in a new way for the environment we're in, certainly I think is helping our business to be able to unlock change for our brand that we didn't necessarily know or thought we had before. So building value, great. How can we unlock things that can help us build that value? I think purpose, agility, and data are really, really crucial to how we go about building the value of the future. And each of them are very, very hard tasks. I know brands that I've worked on who, for example, had a purpose, but the commitment to it, it was a bit like, you know, a Christmas present with a kid. You know, they played with it and had a lot of fun, but by Easter time, you know, they'd moved on. And that's the problem with a purpose. Many brands will create a solid purpose. For me, that's actually the easy part. The hard part is actually really baking that into the DNA of everything that you do as an organization, and ensuring that everybody is involved and contributing to delivering it, and most importantly, believing in it. If we don't believe in our purpose as champions for the people of Illinois, then how can we expect anybody outside of this office to really start to believe in that as well? And by the way, we're not putting champions of the people of Illinois on all our comms. It's an internal purpose that we're using. So unlocking change, really, really important. If we go to the next slide, which I think, to be honest, this lesson was truly learned out of the economic crash, and that's delivering authenticity. I think even then, consumers were sick and tired of brands just pounding out messaging that wasn't really authentic. So we've learned many, many lessons, and authenticity has grown and flourished and broadened and deepened in brands over the last 10 to 15 years. But I think now it's kind of authenticity 2.0. And the way brands are dealing with authenticity and being genuine to who they are, what they believe in, and how they want to act and behave with their consumers, with their stakeholders, is now, I think, more critical than ever. And over the last few months, we certainly have seen some brands, you know, make mistakes. We've seen some brands do things where we go, really, you just don't have the value, the brand value, reputational value, or community value. You haven't got enough in the bank of value to be able to say and do the things that you're saying and doing, which is why we tend to sort of shy away from brands that we believe just haven't built the value to come in and be truly authentic. There are three things I wanted to share with you that I think we've learnt, certainly over the last 6 months. And I wanted to start on the left, which is speak the truth. This little moving image actually was in the New York Times, and there was a great article around, you know, how many brands had kind of jumped on this bandwagon called COVID, jumped on the bandwagon of activism, and kind of been found wanting. They, you know, it was veneer, it was very shallow, and there was no depth. And I think that led me to certainly with the Illinois lottery, that we speak the truth. It really is that simple. If we're going to say something, we will truly mean it. It will be authentic. It will be transparent, and we will stand by what we say. And I think that if there was something that I could advise on from the journey that we've had in this change, is we have to speak the truth. Whether it's our brand, whether it's corporately, it's something that we always had, but I think it's something that we certainly are building on into the future. It's kind of, don't join in and do something that is just not authentic to your brand. It's better just not to do it and leave it to others who think they can. The second part for me was do what's best for you. And I think this probably for me is the one that is really coming to the top of this particular time in the history of brands, is do what's best for you. And I picked the Uber one just purely because it's classic Uber. I know that the global VP of this business, and Uber has really pivoted actually to they were kind of losing their way as a brand a bit. And I think, any crisis can also create opportunity. And I think Uber has very much looked at themselves and seen this as an opportunity to kind of bring back some of that authenticity that maybe they'd lost over the last 2 to 3 years. But I think do what's best for you. If you tolerate racism, delete Uber. I don't know many brands that would promote deleting their product or service for a cause. And I think it's powerful. I think it is authentic from Uber. And it was something that they sat down and went, look, let's not do what everybody else is doing and copycatting and thinking that we should just join in because our consumers think we should. If you're going to do something, do what's best for you, not what you think's best for the environment or the cause or the community value that you're trying to create. And lastly, I think, again, this is a very overused word, which is collaboration. Collaboration is becoming more critical, even pre-COVID. We see collaboration really started to blossom and explode over the last sort of 6 to 8 years, certainly over the last 4 years. Collaboration is becoming a very, very powerful asset. And I think probably through these times and beyond, I think companies and brands will collaborate a lot more, but that comes back to value and purpose. I'm not going to collaborate with a brand that I don't think has the similar values to the Illinois Lottery, whether that's in brand, reputation, or community. So it's important, that authenticity piece, because if we want to go and collaborate with other brands, and let's face it, if we collaborate, it brings our budgets down, right? We're not trying to put it all in ourselves. That collaboration piece is really critical in terms of finding partners who are of a similar value set to you. So in this case, we believe they speak the truth, they do what's best for them, and they're authentic, and they collaborate well. So just 3 things I thought would be interesting for everybody this morning, just around how we're looking at continuing to build and drive authenticity through a time where everybody's trying to play in a new sandpit. So if we go to the next slide, what I thought we would do is just very quickly just touch on our purpose. So our purpose is a champion for the people of Illinois. And it says there, in the best of times, every organization should have a clear purpose. In a crisis, you won't survive without one. And that was a quote from a global CEO of a very, very large blue chip company. And I think that was said about 8 years ago, actually 9 years ago. So I don't think anything's changed, but I think the point there is make sure it's very, very clear. There's clarity. You don't need to explain it. And also that the board and the C-suite buy into it as well, because if they don't, it's not really going to go very far. Just one other point on the purpose is just also make sure it's future facing. So if you haven't got a purpose right now, don't create a purpose for the time we're in. Create a purpose that's future facing, not trying to answer what we're in today. And if we go to the next slide, and out of a champion for the people of Illinois came the Illinois Lottery strapline, if we want to call it that. So Illinois is full of winners came from being a champion for the people of Illinois. We believe Illinois is full of winners And actually, it's not just about people who win on our games. It's also, we believe that there are millions of winners all over Illinois. We support 6 specialty tickets, from the police veterans to cancer to Alzheimer's. And we believe everybody who works for those organizations and those people who suffer are all winners as well. Our partners are winners. Our players are winners. Our state, we believe, is a winner. So being a champion for the people of Illinois, we're hugely proud to be able to have a line that says Illinois is full of winners. And from that line, it creates many, many channels of conversation and communication for us, from responsible gaming to announcing a winner, to the causes that we support as a brand, and also our players and our communities. So we go to the next slide. I just wanted to share some videos with you, which I hope brings this to life. So when we had to crash and burn our whole marketing platform in March, we had to respond with agility. We had to respond with what we felt we wanted to do that was best. And this very much fell under how we were building reputational value. And this video really was just a shout out. I think it was one of the very first communications in Illinois. In fact, I think it may have been the first on TV to support those essential workers that are helping us through these times. And this was relaunched last week on the sports channels. Is there any sound?
Did you say the sound's not working?
I couldn't hear the sound, but I don't know if anyone else could.
Is it still not working?
I can't hear it, but I don't know if anyone else can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all right. Should we come back to it if we can?
Yeah, we can do that.
Just conscious of time, that's all. If we can't play it, for those of you who'd like to see it, it's on YouTube, and it's from the Illinois Lottery. It's called Home. And it was an advert actually right at the beginning of COVID, and because of COVID rules, obviously we couldn't do a big production. So the husband, who you see in the ad, actually is the director. His wife is actually the nurse, and it's actually their child. So the whole production was done between the 3 of them, and it's just a great piece of work that certainly helped us in building our reputational value as a champion of the people of Illinois during these times. And also we did a lot of work across the state, talking to our players and the people of Illinois around all the aspects of the environment and the pandemic we were in. And these were some examples of that. But importantly, we are still a commercial organization, and we're still promoting and selling our games. But one of the pivots that we did, which of course we've seen with most brands, is online. So a lot of our campaign work was about bringing people online because it was a safer environment for them than at the time going into a retailer. If we go to the next slide. And this was one of the very first campaigns we did. And you'll probably see from this, it's pretty simple. We have our own in-house studio here, who does a lot of our production work for us. And therefore we were able to be very agile, having our own studio in-house. So we had a great platform to work with, but we could get messaging out very, very quickly without having to go through an agency partner, which would take a lot more time. And stay at home, play at home was obviously a key message to people. We were supporting the stay-at-home order, but we were also promoting our product online. So we were combining the two together. So we were continuing to champion the cause of people staying at home and staying healthy, but we were able at the same time through that to be able to promote our product online as well. So hybriding the two together. We also did a lot of work around retailer health for retailers, and also, again, going back to supporting not only those healthcare workers, but all those people who kept our state ticking over and getting those Amazon deliveries to our door and beyond. So if we move on. And then I don't know if we'll hear the sound here, but so that was very much around reputation. And the home ad took 1 week to make. So again, it's about being agile. It's about believing in what you want to do and getting on and doing it. And I think one of the things we've learned actually as a business is to have much more confidence in our brand and what we've built, so we can be more agile, which was one of those pillars that we talked about. And then we talked about, brand value. And this, I think many of you may have seen this in our state, which was the launch of You Can't Hide Winning. And this was recognizing the world we were in, but also bringing back a bit of joy and a smile, which this launched in July after many months of really just an unhappy state. And people who were concerned and anxious and worried. We thought it was time maybe just to bring a smile into people's lives. And so You Can't Hide Winning was born. No, I think we may have the same problem with the sound. So I'm sure this will be distributed. Sorry about the sound, everyone. And then we continued to promote as COVID developed. New rules, new regulations were brought out. So distancing became the next thing. And so distance now, together soon. We can do this, Illinois. Again, supporting Illinois is full of winners. We were going to do it right as a state. As a brand, we felt responsible that we continued to support and promote those things that we together as a brand with people within the state, we felt we were part of. And again, I think that, the brand platform that we had built, the purpose that we had already could make this happen very easily for us. We didn't really need to think too much. It was more about how do we activate the messaging that we want, because we were confident that we could do it and have that authenticity to do it as well. And we go to the next one. And then we had cultural value. And look, I know that this is something that a lot of brands, both global and local, have got involved with. We're very, very committed to it. It's very, very it's a very, very important thing that we believe we should be supporting. Our first big take part was the Blackout Tuesday. So the Illinois Lottery blacked out everything for 1 day. And of course, that cost us a lot of money. But we believed it was the right thing to do, the right thing to support. And it was about cultural value. We had to take a stand. We committed to it because we believed in it. It went back to our purpose, which is champions of the people of Illinois. And we will continue to build that cultural value through that purpose and support this and many other causes that we believe is right, rather than we believe, as a brand, we should be seen to be taking part. And I think that's the big difference. We believe it, it's authentic, it goes back to our purpose. And that's why I think that we're confident in those causes that we believe we want to take part in. that the brand is seen to be authentic when it does it. So cultural value began for us in a big way with Blackout Tuesday. So if we kind of wrap all that up, unlocking new and lasting value, I think there is the opportunity for brands to unlock new value. There is the old expression, I think I've used it a couple of times in this chat, you know, a crisis brings opportunity. And for brands, the opportunity is to look and unlock new value that you didn't know you had, that you can go and build on into the future. But more importantly, it has to be lasting value. There's no point just building a spike and it trails away. The opportunity is to build resilience that lasts rather than a smash and grab, kind of join in and fade away. Reputational value and cultural value, if those are the three value sets that you're building around your brand, to be quite frank, I don't think you can really go wrong unless it's not authentic and unless it's not transparent. If you're building it in an authentic way, those three pillars, I think, truly can contribute to brand value. And I think then ultimately, of course, that contributes to your bottom line. Supported by a purpose that's true, that can be shared authentically, both internally and externally. Agility, but thinking of it in a new way, and doing what's best for you. And data, I think, has always been at the center of the conversation over the last sort of 10 years. But I think now it's about really starting to understand data and really getting a grip around the data that we have and what's important and what isn't. Speak the truth, do what's best for you, and collaborate. So for Illinois Lottery, this really is a kind of foundation. It's the sandpit for us that we want to play in, certainly moving into the new normal and beyond. So thank you very much for your time. And Jan, maybe I hand over to you to see if there are any questions.
Yes, I actually, to kick off, I have a question. First of all, that was fantastic. Learned a lot and some things that we can incorporate into our marketing. But you have a lot of stakeholders within your organization and state as well. How did you get the buy-in so quickly?
So it's a great question. And I know I keep going back to purpose, but we built a purpose. And it's a purpose that the state, our state partners believe is right. And our partners in general, including all our agency partners, PR, everybody bought into this concept of a purpose around being a champion for the people of Illinois, including our workforce. You know, coming to work for a lottery is one thing. Coming to work and going, you know what, I'm contributing to being a champion for the people of Illinois, and my brand, which is Illinois is full of winners, is quite an exciting place to be. And it gives a great energy around both with us, all our stakeholders, around the purpose we're trying to achieve beyond, as I said, meeting those revenue targets, which are critical, but we're talking brand today.
And how has the response to this pivot been for Camelot and for the state?
Well, I think it's we're still early days. You know, we're 9 weeks in. But certainly, you know, we had a wonderful comment the other day, actually, from a senior stakeholder who felt that, you know, the Illinois Lottery's marketing brand platform is now probably pretty much up there with the very best in North America for lotteries. So that's a great takeaway for us. But, you know, there's still a lot more work to be done for this to be the best lottery brand in North America.
Well, I like that being the best lottery brand in North America.
Right.
We need, you're doing some really positive things, I think, for the state as well.
Thank you.
There's a lot of data out there, and we can get, overindulged with data. What are the top data points that you took when you were putting this together to help make a decision? Also taking in you didn't have a lot of time.
And that's a great question. When we decided to go with the platform, the change, we didn't use data, actually. In truth, what we did was we believed in the brand that we built, and we just felt confident in the journey that we wanted it to take. I think where data now comes in for us is now really, you know, we've sown the seeds, and the data now will grow the roots. And I think that's the thing here. Change is great, but if you just scatter them across the hard ground, it's not going to last very long. So the next part is about using the data from that change and beyond the change to really water those seeds and get those roots really, really deep, because that gives you the lasting value. That gives you the resilience, not the change itself.
Okay. Well, we've gone over a few little extra minutes, but if there's no any other questions, I'm going to close out this wonderful session. We will share the videos on with you all for all those who signed up. Sorry for the technology. It went well during the little rehearsal. And I look forward to seeing all of you at a lot of our events over the next week, and and please reach out to us if you need anything, and look forward to seeing more of Camelot, and go out and buy lottery tickets. I did, and I can't find mine, but I know I will. So thanks again, everyone, for coming, and have a great rest of the week.
Thank you, Jan.